What up, bitches? Probably shouldn't start a video like that. How's it going, party people? Be you, be unique, and welcome back to another video here. Today we're going to be talking about the new Evil Dead movie, the one that has been relatively, well, I say relatively confirmed. It has been confirmed from what I can see. Evil Dead Burn. Evil Dead Burn. Yeah, Evil Dead Burn, look, we've all seen Evil Dead, the originals, with Bruce Campbell, the iconic Bruce Campbell as Ash in the original Evil Dead movies, the ones that literally, like, you watch back in the day and you think that shit's scary, and you watch it now and you just think it's shit. Obviously, they're not shit. No, the first one's pretty iconic. The first one's legendary. I believe the first one was actually banned as well. The second one's not particularly great. The third one, I think it was called The Army of the Night or something like that. Didn't make that one at all. But Evil Dead has left a long legacy. It has a long legacy, and it continues with Evil Dead Burn. Now, remember, Evil Dead, I kind of recognise Evil Dead as like one of those iconic, gory horror films. You know, like when you watch like a film that's like horror, but it's just a gory horror film like Saw or Hostel. Weirdo films like The Human Centipede, where there's like people eating shit and stuff like that. One of those kind of like shock movies, one of those shock value films. And Evil Dead was no different to that when it came out. You know, Evil Dead was a classic, and it's still to this day it goes down as a classic, and that's why we're getting another one. And that's why we've had, obviously, 3 Evil Dead movies in the last 12 years, which might not seem like a lot when you compare it to shit like the Star Wars crap, like when Walt Disney get hold of things and they just mass produce them to make as much money as they fucking can. And breathe. Yes. But Evil Dead is getting another one with Evil Dead Burn. And the great news, the big news about Evil Dead Burn is that our legendary host of the original Evil Deads, Bruce Campbell, is to feature in this movie from what I have read. From what I understand, Bruce Campbell is to appear in Evil Dead Burn. That could be quite an interesting thing. I don't know how old Bruce Campbell is now. Is he probably about 70-something? I mean, you know, bringing back old characters like that, I never quite agree with it. I never quite kind of grasp the concept of bringing back a character that is obviously well past his sell-by date. Doesn't appear in films anymore, probably too old to even care, just for nostalgia value. And that's all they do. They bring back these old classic actors just for nostalgia value. And I don't agree with it, particularly when they're as old as Bruce Campbell's going to be for this film. If, you know, because they are saying that Bruce Campbell is going to be in this movie, according to the cast list. I don't agree with it. Maybe he's just got a cameo role, I'm not sure. But we'll find out when the movie comes out. Evil Dead Burn, though. It's going to be a fascinating one. Now, I remember Evil Dead, obviously the originals, and Evil Dead in 2013. Evil Dead 2013 was like the remake, wasn't it? It was like a remake or like a sequel or something to the original Evil Deads. I'm not quite sure what it was. I'm not even sure to this day. It felt like a bit of a remake of Evil Dead, but with different cast members and slightly different story. Well, not different story, but, you know, kind of the way it was... the way it was delivered was very different, wasn't it? In terms of, like, they could probably go all out on the gore and stuff like that. The way it was kind of portrayed compared to the original. The original, obviously, good for the time, but when you watch it now, it's definitely aged. And obviously, the 2013 Evil Dead movie had a lot of gore, but obviously they've got the visual effects to be able to pull things off. You know, it's a different time, it's a different era. It's like 30, 40 years after the original, so they can do a lot more. But apart from the fact that the gore and, you know, the blood and stuff looked a lot more kind of realistic and stuff, it was a pretty dead movie. And it was a pretty flat movie. The acting wasn't very good, and it was quite a soulless remake, if that's what it was. I did not enjoy the 2013 Evil Dead movie. The only part I probably liked was when the woman got the bread cutter and cut her own arm off. That was quite cool. That was pretty decent. That looked, and it looked good. That's what I mean. It looked realistic. Whereas where in the original Evil Dead, everything looked a bit kind of like paper mache. You know what I mean? Like people had like glued paper to someone's face. You know, like coloured paper in red and then glued it to someone's face. That was like the blood in that film. It was like very, very basic, cheap. Well, it was cheap. Yeah, they didn't really have much of a budget for that film. So it kind of explains why it looked like that. But good for the time, and I believe it was banned as well. So obviously a very shocking movie as well at the time. And then you had Evil Dead Rise. Now, Evil Dead Rise was probably my ultimate favourite out of the entire Evil Dead movies. Out of every single Evil Dead movie, Evil Dead Rise was my personal favourite. I thought Evil Dead Rise was really, really good. I did think it was really good. When I first watched it, I think I watched it at the theatres for the Americans and the cinema for us Brits. Hate having to do that, but yes. I watched it at the cinema theatre, and I thought it was a very good movie in terms of, like, the setting. I quite like the hotel setting. It was quite eerie. I thought the mom character was really, really eerie. She was quite cool. I liked her red hair as well. It kind of, I don't know why, it just added a new kind of freakiness to her. The fact that her hair was like red. She was dyeing her hair at the start of the film, and then like she's got like red hair throughout the film. I don't know why, it just added a new kind of evil layer to her. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. But Evil Dead Rise I thought was very, very cool. I thought it was very good, Evil Dead Rise. But one thing I will criticise it for, apart from, the setting and stuff like that, and I thought the scenes, again, were pretty well done. The special effects obviously are good, it's what you've come to expect from modern day films. But it was kind of guilty of replicating the one in 2013. You even had the girl at the end with like a chainsaw cutting into the head of the creature at the end. And I thought that was a kind of like, for me, in my view, that was, it's a bit like, I don't know why they reference things. I don't know why they have to reference older films. I just don't get that. Just make your own film. You don't have to reference things all the time. It was kind of like, another thing I will say, I should say, is that Evil Dead 2013, like I said, it was flat. I thought it was like a real poorly toned film. It wasn't creepy at all. I think there wasn't really no atmosphere to that film. Evil Dead Rise had a bit more atmosphere, but it was basically like, it almost felt like a carbon copy of the 2013 one, just in a hotel rather than out in a cabin in the woods. But like I said, I thought the cast members were probably better. The cast members in Evil Dead Rise were better. So for me, that gets the nod ahead of the 2013 one. And Evil Dead Rise, as I've said, was probably my favourite one in the franchise. The bit at the start is probably the best bit where they're kind of on the lake, and that guy's got the drone, and the woman like literally shoves the drone in her own face and cuts her face off. And then you've got like, the woman she literally rises out of the lake and like in this pose, and then in the background you've got like the Evil Dead Rise logo in front of the trees. I thought that image is pretty cool. That was the best part of the film. But again, I don't know what kind of direction you can go in with this. All it's going to be, and maybe they might make, because Bruce Campbell's in the next one, perhaps it might be slightly more comedy-ish, because I know Evil Dead, the original one, the first one, was quite obviously a proper tense gripping horror. The second one had a bit more light-hearted humour, so maybe the fact that Bruce Campbell's back in it at this stage in his career means they're going to introduce a bit more humour to the next film, Evil Dead Burn. But we'll find out. I'm not quite sure. But what else can you do other than because this is all it is. It's someone who finds the book, reads the book when they shouldn't read the book, and then all the evil shit starts happening. That's all you can do. Only thing you can really do to change it is change the location in which these things are happening in. The cabin, the hotel, or the apartment buildings, I should say. I think it wasn't a hotel. Was it apartments in Evil Dead Rise? I don't know why I said hotel. In the apartments in Evil Dead Rise. So you've got the cabin in the woods or the apartments. Maybe the next one will be in the desert. I don't know. But, there's not a lot of avenues you can explore with this, really. Maybe you can have, this is the best idea, and the fact that Bruce Campbell's in it may be an indication to this. Maybe it's more of an origin story to Evil Dead. I'm not quite sure. But an origin story to Evil Dead may actually be relatively interesting. Maybe it's going to be like how the book was found or how the book was made. That would be more interesting. Make a film about how the book was made in the first place. That would be a lot more cool. Have a film about how the evil book was actually created. Is it the Necronomicon? I don't even know what the book's called. Necronomicon? I can't say it. There's someone out there who's going to probably put it in the comments. Put it in the comments what the book is called, because Necronomicon or something like that. I cannot think of what the book is called. It's definitely something like that or along those lines. But like I said, make a film about how the book was created or where the book originated from. That would be more cool than just kind of having a new family or a new group of people, find their way into some property and all of a sudden there's a book there and they read it and all nasty shit happens. Because that's just typical when it's obvious and it's not, there's no tension because you expect it. One thing I'll say about Evil Dead Rise is I expected, there's no real suspense. You kind of expect everything that's going to happen because it was basically a carbon copy of the one in 2013. Just in a different location. So if the next one's just going to be a group of people in a different place reading the book and then nasty shit happens, it's just going to be a predictable pile of shit. Origins of the book would be much more cool, but I don't know if they'll go down that route, and they probably won't. And we are getting another Evil Dead Burn, so that's something to look forward to. And apparently it's dropping in 2026. There's no actual date. I couldn't find a specific date as to when this movie is going to be dropping in 2026. However, I couldn't even find a story or slash plot for this film in 2026. So I doubt they're going to have a date confirmed of when it's going to be released if they haven't even got a plot figured out yet. So, it is something to look forward to because I am a big fan of the Evil Dead franchise in terms of, the originals are iconic. Evil Dead Rise, I actually really liked watching that first time, but when I watched it, the more I watch it, I just see it as like a generic horror film more and more. So what are they going to do with Evil Dead Burn? It's going to be fascinating to find out. Bruce Campbell, like I said, is in it. It's going to be interesting, the fact that he's in it. He's kind of like, it's going to be bringing back a lot of that nostalgia for people that have watched the original Evil Dead movies. But put in the comments what you guys and girls, or guys and ladies, think of the new Evil Dead movie. And if there's any movies you're looking forward to, if there's any movies you want me to talk about, if there's any horror movies coming up in the future, or in the near future, or action movies, adventure films, whatever you're into, let me know, and I will literally make a video. You know, like I said, I think I said it in my previous video. I keep burping for some reason. Christ, sort yourself out, man. If there's any videos you want me to make on a movie that you'd like me to make a video on, put it in the comments below. And obviously the comment with the most likes, or with the most reactions, I will then take it upon myself to make a video on that specific topic. It's hard sometimes. Anyway, guys and girls, guys and ladies, I keep saying guys and girls, guys and ladies, because you're all ladies out there. You're all ladies. You know, you're not girls. You're all ladies. You're all female ladies. It's more professional. Anyway, guys and ladies, have a fantastic day. Have a fantastic evening. And remember as well, be you, be unique. And I will see you again for another fascinating video. And I am going to be making more different style videos. Obviously, I've made a ghost video. I'm going to be making a reactions video to like funny videos or cringe videos. So expect that to be coming up in the next week or so as well. And just keep liking and subscribing, because that is ultimately what I need you to do. Thanks very much. See you soon.